Hello, hello, everyone. I am here. This is Julie Santiago. First, hi, it's me. And I am here with my absolutely beautiful and courageous and smart and badass client, Amy. Amy Joe. And we have such an incredible conversation to share with you today. Amy and I were just catching up a bit. And first, for those of you who may be watching, please just say hello to me and to Amy in the comments below. And Amy, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Of course, I appreciate I appreciate you thinking of me.
Well, I mean, witnessing you throughout the entire course and the journey that we went on together in our work was such an it was incredible to witness. Like I said this to you before, you just dove into the deep end. With, head first, dove into the deep end. And so what I would love, before we just talk about anything at all, I would love for you to introduce yourself. So give the women who are watching a little bit of background on kind of who you are and maybe, what you do, with quotes around that, or what you've done, and where you are right now. So I always like to start with that. Where is life right now? And then, of course, we'll reverse back and talk about where it was.
Sure. So I'm Amy. Hi, everyone. I live in a small town in Colorado. I am an attorney on the path to becoming a recovering attorney. I'm an animal lover, a rescue advocate, a huge family person, and am really just trying to focus on my dream, which is becoming a full-time author at some point in life. My journey, I'm a couple months out now from graduating from the program, and I think I'm fully ensconced in the journey. So I'm moving forward, some baby steps, some big steps, but I'm moving forward and towards that dream and that goal. So it's a lot still to do, but I think good progress in the meantime.
I like that you said, I'm still in the journey. Will you tell us what that means to you?
It means that I have, I guess, in mind a few goals that I'd like to achieve. One is quitting my job. One is terminating a relationship, and then the other is writing and publishing those books that I have just swirling around in my head every day. And I've taken steps towards all of them, but I'm not even close yet to having achieved any of it. But I know it's there, and I know it will happen. It's just a matter of when, and how, and not if.
No, I love that. So it's about when, right? Not if.
It's not if. Not if anymore, right?
Okay. So it's not if anymore. So was it an if before?
I think it was a big if before. It was always a dream, I think, but it was never anything that I was confident that I could turn into reality.
Awesome. Okay, great. So you have always had dreams in some capacity around leaving your law job, around leaving the relationship in some capacity, like that's been clear for you for a little while, and then becoming a full-time writer. And you always had these feelings, but there was something that held you back from going after any of them. Yeah. And that was the if. Yeah. So tell us about, so I want it to get really, because what you're talking about right now is something I think that every single woman experiences in some way. Sure. So like, I have these things, like I because you were an attorney for how long?
I think I'm on for like year 15 or 16 now.
Okay, so essentially your entire adult life.
Mostly, yeah.
This is what you've done. And you just moved down to part-time, and you've just posted the job for the listing for your replacement. So it's happening, right?
Yeah.
what is it that got you, Amy, from the place of, I think I want to quit my job and I'm not really happy in my marriage and I really want to be a writer? What is it that got you from that place of like the discomfort of having those dreams without them being, without having a plan in some way to get there, to now being at this point where you've taken steps, right? You've gone part-time, you're hiring your replacement, you filed for divorce, like you put your house on the market, like, and you're still writing. Are you still writing every day? I mean, so can you take, this is so important for everyone watching, like take us through, I think I have two questions. One, I want to hear about where you were when you joined this program, because right now you're kind of crossing this bridge, right, of where you were versus where you want to go. So where were you when you joined the program? And then I want to just ask you about some guidance you would give to other women as they're thinking about crossing that bridge. So where were you on this journey when you found me and found me?
I think I was at the point where I was feeling, it's going to sound very dramatic, but I was feeling quite desperate at the time. I had received a message from the universe. If you want to go a little bit woo-woo, it's that whole, I was on the ancient footpaths in England and got a very clear message that I was on the wrong path. And I just knew something had to change, but I had absolutely no idea how to do it. I didn't know how or when or if I could even do it. And it was a few weeks after that that I actually got one of your newsletters. And I don't know if I ever told you this, but I was clearing out emails. I was in London. I was clearing out emails one day because I just needed to kind of get a handle on all of my emails. And I had deleted the newsletter. And there was a little kind of tap on my shoulder that said, maybe you should open that one. Just open it. So I opened it, and it was an invitation to one of your calls, like your intro call. And I struggled to get that set up because I was in 2 different time zones, and I was trying to get it all kind of, and I just couldn't figure out how to make it work. And so I shut it down and then sat there for a second, pulled it back up, did it again, and was able to connect with you the next day. So it was this concept of timing where I was on these ancient footpaths, got this incredible message, which my therapist kind of laughed. She's like, well, when you don't listen to the universe, it just gets louder and louder until you hear it. I heard it, and then I got your newsletter and an invitation to call, and I thought, you know what, this is something. I've been wondering how to make this happen. Maybe I'm being given the tools to do that. And so it was really just, it was a bit of a leap of faith, really not really having any other idea of what I needed to do or how I needed to do it. Here's this thing. Why not give it a shot? Right. So that's where I was. I was pretty desperate, but I was being given very loud and very clear messages for the universe that maybe this is something that you need to at least consider. So,
oh my God, Amy, that's so incredible. Like, and what you just described, I'm going to lay it all out for everyone listening, because you just outlined the exact steps that a woman needs to take in order to make a change in her life. And then I'm going to pass the baton back to you in a second to go deeper with it. But what you just said was so great. First, thank you for acknowledging that you were desperate. I often say that, like, I'm usually like, when somebody comes to work with me, I'm usually the last house on the block. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm kind of like behind the trees in the forest. And it's like, well, I've already opened this door and I've gone to this house. And I've gone to this house. And so, yeah, it's like, you've tried a lot of things. All right. And it's, so women come to me when like they're really ready for a change and have tried a lot of other stuff. So yes, thank you for continuing to walk to get to that last house on the block. But here's what you said, which is what these are steps that I really want to outline for everyone who's watching and listening. These is really important. So number one, Amy, you said that you knew something had to change, right? You knew something had to change. We're still here, Amy. I'm not sure why that other message just popped up. Did you see that? Are you still with me, Amy? Amy, you still with me? Can you hear me okay? Ladies, for those of you who are watching, will you just post in the comments below to make sure that you can still hear us? And Amy, you just let me know if you can, if are we still here? Oh, weird. Hang on. So we're having a little technical difficulties, everybody. So give us one quick second. Let's just see. Oh, Amy, I can hear you now.
Hi, Julie. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Sorry, everyone.
We're good. Can you hear me okay? I can hear you. All right, ladies. So just give us a second. Pause for the technical difficulties. I love that this happened because we were about to. Okay, great. Everybody can hear me. Okay, cool. Thanks, ladies. Everybody can hear. Log off and log back in, please, Amy. So we're gonna have Amy log off, and then because I don't know what's going on with her. So she's gonna log back off and log back in, and what I'm gonna do as she does that is I'm gonna go through these steps that she just shared with us. Okay, great. So she is going to come back in a second. So here is what I want you ladies. Thank you for your patience with that. Technology is awesome and also so challenging sometimes. Okay, so okay, great. So here's what she just outlined about what it really took for her to make this shift from where she was, where she knew that something had to change, but she didn't know how, to where she is now. And so here are these the shifts that Amy outlined that I think are so important for everyone watching these too. Okay, so number one, right? The first thing is that she said she was desperate, right? She had gotten to a point where Amy's very obviously very smart, very well educated. She's an attorney. She's worked hard her entire life. I know she was a professional athlete. Like Amy has always been at the top of her game. Amy, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. So sorry, everyone.
It's all good. So I was just recapping what you said, which is number one, right? In order to really start making these changes in your life, you knew something had to change, right? But you didn't know how. So that was the first step, right? You're highly successful. You've been, a professional, like an athlete. You're well educated. You've always been like at the top of your game. But there was something that was calling to you. So number one is that you knew something had to change, but you didn't know how. Okay. So number one is admitting that something needs to change. That was number one. And Amy got this amazing hit, right? Which is number two. You have to pay attention to your intuition, right? Now, Amy's intuition was speaking to her when she was in nature. Amy's intuition was like that little whisper that was like, open that email, right? So that's number two, right? So number one is admit that you need support, that it's not working. Be honest with yourself. Number two is then listen to your intuition about what and who enter your life as your guides, as your helpers, as your teachers. Number three, which you may not think is part of the journey, but it usually is, Amy, when you shut down your laptop and we're like, whatever, you like ignored it for a second, right? And so I just want to acknowledge that like sometimes that's part of the path too, is like you ignore yourself. You may try to figure it out on your own or like whatever, right? So you may ignore it, right? But then what happened, right? Again, you immediately came back to trying again, right? To opening the intuition, right? To trying again, to being open. And then really the fifth step here is you took a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Right? Because you didn't know how, right? But you just knew that with everything that you knew and everything you had tried, if you kept doing what you had always done, you were going to keep getting what you always had. So what was it that allowed you to take that leap of faith? Because that's big. What allowed you to do that? Because that's where most people stop. They get scared and they go back. So what do you think it was for you?
I think that it was hearing, how do I say this? So I had actually tried to or considered jumping on one of your calls months before, a couple times actually, and the schedule never worked out, or the email didn't resonate, or something didn't resonate. But there were words that you were saying, there were words that were in your newsletter that I don't even remember what they are anymore. I don't know that I could have told you what they were a week after the fact, but what you were saying, it I felt it, right? It resonated. There was a vibration there that I recognized on some basic level that said, this feels true. This sounds true. This feels right. So I don't know that it was anything really specific other than kind of listening to myself and opening myself up for possibilities, because it's a vulnerable place, right? Even just the intro call feels very vulnerable when you're really unsure. And it was just being okay about that. And again, there was something that you said that night that I was like, oh, hell yes, this is me. Okay, maybe she can help me. Maybe we give this a shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I really hear is there's a deep sense of trusting your gut, right? Of like there's a vibration, it feels right, it sounds right, you could sense it. So like there was like a trust. Now I'm curious, because I think this is an important thing for you to know, for you to name, and for you to share with the other women. What is the stuff that your brain was saying? Like, because the gut is like the knowing, it's like, I know this, but then the brain can sometimes be like, what is your brain? What did your brain do? Or what does your brain do?
My brain is a master at throwing up roadblocks. So my brain during the call was like, well, you've tried all of these other things and nothing's worked. Why are you even trying? Why would you even put yourself up for the possibility of failure? It was throwing up all sorts of red flags and all sorts of roadblocks and all sorts of gloom and doom. My brain is a master at gloomy and doomy. It's just really, really good at it, which of course is its job, which is fine. But it was really telling me, it was creating a sense of fear. You know what? You've tried this before and you failed. Why would you do this to yourself again? Why would you set yourself up for more failure? Those were the words that were going through my head.
Got it. It's really important to share. Just like your brain's like doom and gloom, like it's not going to work. Why is this going to be any different? Why set yourself up for disappointment? Yeah. It's so interesting when the brain does that, because it goes back to that place of like, you have a dream. You had a dream, right? You had a dream to create a path and a plan to walk away from your job, to get really clear on what was going to happen in your relationship and how to do that. And then to take the steps you need to take to begin writing and to become a professional writer. You have all these dreams, and the brain's job is to be like, not going to happen, not going to happen. Stay safe, stay small, don't do this. And one of the things that I found doing this work for how long I've done it, working with thousands and thousands of women who are at that threshold and crossroads, is when the brain gets the loudest. It will always convince you to stay where you are. And sometimes the voice is really convincing. It's not going to work. Yeah. Right? You should figure this out on your own. Like, no, whatever it is.
Asking for help is weakness, right? That's
a big one, especially for a high achieving, successful woman like yourself, to be like, I haven't figured this out yet. Okay, so let's talk about this.
Okay.
Because this is a really important thing. And I say this a lot to the women who I work with. It's not that you don't know this stuff. It's not that you can't figure it out on your own. But I want you to tell me why working together in the container that we worked in, what happened? Like, what happened on that journey that either expedited or catalyzed this in a way that it wouldn't have happened had you tried to do it on your own?
Well, I mean, in short, it allowed it allowed that inner wise woman, that voice of reason, to be the louder voice. So the brain is still there. My gloom and doom is still up there. It still talks to me every day. But it's no longer the only voice, and it's no longer the loudest voice. So it's not the biggest voice in my head anymore. It's just simply a voice. So I think, I mean, just to bottom line this process, this journey that I went on with you, allowed me to connect to that inner voice that I really needed to listen to, and that really needed to be amplified. And it allowed me to connect to her, to trust her, to listen to her, and to hear her much better than I ever had on my own.
I just want to let that land. Yeah. I know that was your journey, Amy. Yeah. I remember, you sharing at different points on our weekly calls and, on email, of these moments where you're like, I did this instead of that. And I knew to go to the closet, and I knew to call this person, and the way that you began to rebuild this trust in yourself and in your intuition. And so going on this journey together, I just want to be clear, is that what happened for you in this program, that you really learned to listen to and trust that inner wisdom inside of you?
Oh yeah, if that was the point of this entire process for me. I didn't realize it at the very beginning, but I didn't necessarily need a plan. I just needed to hear my own voice and trust it again, because I already knew what I was supposed to do. I just had to have the courage to do it, and I had to have the time and space to be able to hear it, right? And to live with it. Yeah.
Oh, Amy, that's so beautiful. And I want to say something, and then I want to ask you one more question about it, because I think this is so important. You've heard me say this before, Amy, in our work together, and maybe some of you watching or listening have heard me say this too, that we have all of the answers that we need inside of us. That you are your own teacher and guru and wise woman and coach and all of that. But what often happens is that we move too fast. We move so fast that we can't hear ourselves. And we are so conditioned to listen to that practical brain. And, whether that's from society or our own stuff or our own family, like whatever reason, we're used to pushing down that voice of the inner wisdom, because oftentimes it tells you to quit your job, to quit your marriage, and to become a writer, or whatever the person's that is. And so I do want to talk about this, Amy, is like, because you mentioned this before we got on the call, and this is just so important, of like, how do you trust that intuition when it tells you to do things that or can sense may shake up your life?
Yeah. I think that it's by baby steps, right? So it's by listening to it when it gives you little small pieces of advice, and then seeing and hearing and feeling, okay, this was right. Okay, that worked. All right, that's good. Everything worked out there. So now let's listen to it on this little bit bigger piece. And it was an inner journey of hearing and trusting. And anytime you have to build up trust, whether it's with someone else or whether it's with yourself, when you feel like you haven't had that trust, it's baby thing. It's just little tiny things. So it was really just, okay, this first thing worked out, so let's listen to her again and see what she has to say. And okay, this actually worked out pretty well too. And gosh, that voice of reason sounds so much more palatable to me than the gloom and doom scenario that's going off in my head. Maybe today I'm just going to listen to that voice of reason and trust that she knows what she's talking about. Mm. So it's just like a little bit at a time, and I'm still learning. Still learning to let her come through and give that sage advice that I need. So it's, like I said, she's I still have the voice of doom and gloom. It's that she's no longer the only voice up there. So
I love that, Amy. I mean, the two things that I heard you just really say are number one, baby steps, and number two, choice. And so it's not that the voice of the inner critic or that fear voice or that doom and gloom voice or the worst case scenario voice, it's not that that goes away. It's just that you have more tools to be able to choose which voice you listen to.
That's right.
Right. And so you learned to take baby steps. You learned to get one piece of information and take the next step and build trust and faith. And then one piece of information and great, baby step at a time. Right. And then you also learned to constantly choose, to go on this inner journey to choose, to know when the thoughts you're thinking are supporting you and not.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
So those are tremendous. And do those feel like new tools for you, or those tools you gained in the program?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah. I think I had mentioned to you at one point in the program, probably early on, that, I missed this inner voice, right? I hadn't heard her clearly for 2 decades. It'd been a long, long time since I'd heard her just kind of pipe up and say stuff, and I missed her. So it was a great gift to me to be able to get that back. Be able to connect with myself on that level again, because I hadn't in so long. And I don't know that without the tools that you provided during the course that I would have ever gotten to this level of, hearing that intuition the way that I have.
That's so incredible, Amy. And I want all of you who are listening to what Amy's saying right now to understand that what she's saying is she went 2 decades without hearing that intuition, that, inner wise woman voice inside of her, almost 20 years. And that when it came back during the course of this program, right, it was like a long lost friend that came back. And what I want everybody to hear is that I didn't tell Amy, do A and then do B and then do C. I mean, the steps in the program guided you through the journey to reconnect with yourself and to clear out all the shit that wasn't actually serving you so that you could hear that inner wisdom voice. And then once you were able to hear that intuition again, she had all the answers. She said, take this step. And you were able to build the courage and the confidence to listen to her. So I just want everyone to hear that the reason in some ways that this program works, that this work works, is because when you reconnect with her, you'll never not connect with her ever again, Amy. She won't ever be lost in your life ever again, which means that you'll always have the answer. You'll always have the tools to reconnect with her, and it will always be, yes, the dance between doing really hard, challenging things, right, that ultimately allow you to choose your life, right, and have a bigger, better, more aligned life than you would have otherwise. Yeah. And so you can't ever go back. Right. I think that's one of the greatest things is you've crossed this threshold and there's no going back.
No, there's no going back. Even on days where I know things are really hard and they feel very frustrating and things aren't moving like I think they are, there's always this trust in myself and knowing that, look, I am on my path. And as long as I continue to stand tall in my power and face forward in that path, I will know what the next step needs to be. There's no doubt in my mind anymore that I know what the next step will be, even if I don't know what that is today. So yeah, that was huge for me, to just get to that point in my life where I could trust myself to know what's best for me. Right? I got this. It's good.
God, Amy, that was so beautiful and just so excited and happy to witness this for you. And I can't wait for us all to read all of your books and for you to look back, right, at that moment where you felt so desperate and you knew that something needed to change and you just allowed yourself to be supported. Really, so that you could reconnect to the wisdom inside of you. You said this, and I'll ask you one final question and then we'll wrap up. But you said this before we got on this call. You said, this is the time in my life when I choose me. And I just want to celebrate.
Thank you.
So, is there any last piece of advice or guidance or anything that you would want to say to a woman out there, maybe like you, before you were on that, you know, on those paths, when you were feeling so desperate? Like, if there's a woman out there who's just knowing that something needs to change but doesn't know what or how, what would you want her to know?
I'm going to pull out my mantra that I got on, like, I think one of the very first modules that we ever went through. Be brave, trust life. That was the message I got at the beginning. It is the message I continue to get when I need it. I am constantly reminded of that. Be brave, trust life. That's really what this was about for me.
Be brave, trust life. Amy, thank you. Thank you for your wisdom and for sharing everything that you have. And ladies, so for any of you who are watching, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a link up on the screen right now. Okay, so it's juliesantiago.com/apply. Now, if you are at a crossroads like Amy was, if you are feeling like you could use some of this juju, the ability to be brave and trust life, if you know you're at a crossroads, if you know something needs to change, but you're not sure what it is, I invite you to book a breakthrough call with my team. Okay, so what that breakthrough call is going to do is you are going to get on the phone with an incredible team member of mine who has been trained in this methodology, who's actually gone through this program. And what she is going to help you do is she is going to help you get really clear on what's working, what's not working, whether that's around your career, right, or relationship or whatever it is. And if we can support you and take you on a journey like we did with Amy to get you the results and the outcome that you want, we're going to tell you that. And if not, we'll share other resources with you. Ultimately, it's a 1-hour call. It's a free breakthrough call that is meant to help you get clear on whether or not we're right to work together in this program. And if we can help you, we'll tell you how we can do that. We'll make a plan. And if not, then we're going to tell you that and share the resources too. So thank you for joining us today. Amy, I just cannot thank you enough for your wisdom, for that motto that we now all get the pleasure of having: be brave, trust life. And so I just am so grateful for you. I can't wait to fast forward your life 1 year to check in again. Maybe we'll do actually another interview again. The book launches, and then we'll all buy signed copies. That's what one of the book comments said. I want a signed copy. So I just want to celebrate you, hun. I'm so excited to see how your journey continues to unfold. And thank you so much for sharing your beautiful wisdom.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate everything that you did and helped me accomplish. Thank you.
I love you so much, sweetheart. And for those of you out there who are interested in what this could do for you, just go to juliesantiago.com/apply. And I'll see you all very soon. Much love. Bye.
Bye.
Say bye to Amy.